Hey guys, it's Girl Got Game, and I'm back to playing Always Remember Me. And we're going to do Lawrence's route this time. I apologize if I sound really tired. It's been a long week, and so I haven't been able to get a lot of recording done. And I feel really sleepy right now, but I feel bad that I haven't made any videos. So, we're going to get back into this game. Let's do our quick intro and re-meet some of the guys. At least the two that we've already chased after. I was attending my first year of college for creative writing when it happened. I'd always loved to write poetry and prose, so the class was a natural fit. I had to take a part-time job during the summer to pay for my studies, though. I was so happy with Aaron. He was my boyfriend, but one day after a date on the beach, we had an accident while driving back home on his motorcycle. I didn't get hurt, but Aaron hit his head trying to protect me from the crash and is now suffering from short-term amnesia. He doesn't remember me at all. In the hospital, I met Eddy, a young doctor who took pity on us and promised to follow this case personally. He said I can visit his office at any time if I have any questions. Eddy said that I should try to make Aaron regain his memory, but at a very slow pace, without hurrying things. This means pretending that I'm only his friend unless he remembers me. It's a very tough time in my life. It's really awkward to see Aaron not recognize me at all. This accident seems like a test. I'm now going to find out if Aaron was supposed to be the man of my life. Or not. Maybe it's Lawrence. Okay, so we've seen this many times. I'm sorry, Gwenda. Not that I don't love you, but you can only have the same conversation with Gwenda so many times before it's like, I don't want to hear it anymore. Oh man, look how low my morale is. 5 morale. I'll talk with Gwenda, even though we've had this conversation many times too. But talking with Gwenda really helps Amy's morale, and we could use all the help we can get. Alright, we'll just get through this. Yay, it was so nice talking to Gwenda.
Yay!
Thank you, Gwenda. Amy, I prepared your favorite cake. Oh, thanks, Gwenda, but I'd like to stay alone for a while and rest, okay? I didn't sleep very well at the hospital. I had too much on my mind. That's fine. Get some rest. You can eat a piece of cake tomorrow morning before going to work. Good night, Gwenda. I went to my bedroom with Nina in my arms and sat down at the desk. I picked a notebook up and decided to try and get my feelings under control in the most familiar way I knew, writing about them. I picked up a pen and started writing a poem. And we won't read through Aaron's poem again, because we want to write a poem for Lawrence eventually, and so we don't really care about Aaron's poem. When I awoke that morning, I knew that I had to go to the ice cream parlor. It was Sunday, and I had a long shift to attend to. I considered calling out, knowing that they would understand if I explained the situation, but decided that it would be best to go in anyway. Otherwise, everyone would start to worry about me. I had no doubt that news of the accident was already traveling quickly. Gossip seemed to get around in town eerily fast. Except the 2 guys who asked us about it don't seem to have heard anything about it, so there you go. I got ready and arrived at the shop 15 minutes before the start of my shift. I hadn't wanted to dwell at home, though as soon as I walked in I knew I was too early. It was still early morning and there were only a few customers around. I was surprised to catch sight of a familiar face seated at one of the tables, apparently taking a break from work. Lawrence! Hey, you're the guy we're gonna chase. So I'm not gonna be mean to you this time around. Oh, I felt so bad last time. Hey, Amy, are you alright? I couldn't help but notice the genuine worry on his expression when he saw the bruises on my arms and legs. I appreciated his concern. Good morning, Lawrence. I'm doing okay. Are you sure? Those bruises look really painful. Yes, I'm sure. They really aren't as bad as they look. Really? I don't know if I could work with bruises that big. You're a strong woman. I can hardly feel them. Thanks, though. How did it happen? You aren't in any trouble, are you? Okay, when I kept my privacy, he jumped to some major conclusions, and that was no good, so. Well, I got in a car accident. What? When was that? How did it happen? I felt a little bad for worrying him, but the tenderness in his eyes made me feel slightly better. It was nice to know that there were people who cared. I decided to explain to him what had happened, since there was little secret to it. I was on a motorcycle with Aaron. He protected me when we got into the crash. That's why I'm not very badly hurt. It wasn't his fault. They think the other driver was drunk. That's terrible. How's Aaron? I haven't heard anything about him recently. Actually, Aaron suffered a head injury. He has amnesia now. I'm sorry to hear that. How bad is it? Will he recover? They think he will. Luckily, it isn't too extensive. But he doesn't remember me anymore. Lawrence's eyes widened slightly when I revealed the cost of Aaron's protection. Amy. It's not so bad, though. Thanks for worrying about me, Lawrence. Yay, that's better than getting the -5. It's really nice to see people who still care, but I've got to go start my shift. I feel like I need to sneeze now. Oh no. I think it's gone. Ooh. Hurt my head though. Ugh. Ow. I'll talk to you more later. See you later. Later, Lawrence. So during the summer, Amy works here and only gets paid with tips. Depending on her morale, she'll get more money. And since her morale's so low...
Bring it on!
Oh, well, we did succeed a little bit, surprisingly. And at noon, our shift is over and we can do overtime if we like to. And, of course, talk to Lawrence, which is the most important thing we want to do. I still feel weak. It'll be better if I get back home now. I don't think they would allow me to see Aaron yet anyway. And home. When I got home after work, I found the house empty except for my cat, Nina. Nina and I went up to my room and I turned the computer on to check my email. Mostly to see if there was any news about Aaron's Mostly to see if there was any news from Aaron's family or the hospital. Good grief. I knew it was rather unlikely to have more correspondence from them so soon, but couldn't help but hold on to the hope there would be something new. I sat down at my desk and looked around my inbox, scanning the titles and senders of the new and unread messages. I frowned when I saw there was nothing new from Eddy or anyone else from the hospital crew. Nothing good. Too bad. I decided to do some research on amnesia. And then here's a very very thorough, I guess I should say, explanation of what amnesia is. I kept reading, but only got confused from the more complicated medical terms. I was distracted from my reading when a small notification box saying I had a new email popped up. They ever gonna explain this secret admirer thing? I clicked it a bit absent-mindedly since the address was unknown. Maybe I shouldn't open it. It could be a virus or spam. Nina hopped up onto the desk and meowed rather loudly. Meow! Well, I suppose it wouldn't hurt to see what it is. Right, Nina? I opened the email, eyeing the unknown address warily. The message was simple and written in plain black text. Hey there, Amy. I hear you're quite the poet. I'd love to read more of your work, but you don't really share it with anyone, do you? I'm a big fan and your secret admirer, as the saying goes. Keep writing, girl. Okay. I don't remember what I picked last time. Sure, whatever. I shook my head slightly and clicked the response button? Response button? I really should not play games when I'm tired, apparently. I am so sorry. I typed a simple message and sent it back to him. Please don't bother me. I was about to check my book review blog when the computer shut down. I tried to restart it several times, but nothing happened. My computer just had to break at a time like this. For a moment, I thought it might have been a virus from that mysterious email, but then realized that was silly. The computer wouldn't even turn on, so the failure was clearly in the hardware. Nina, still sitting on my desk, gave me a puzzled look. Great, now I won't be able to check my email or blog from home anymore. Ugh, my computer broke. Why is all the bad stuff happening? Okay. Wow. How did we get how come we're at 15? Did I miss something? Were we already at 10 with Lawrence? Did we start at a higher thing with Lawrence than we do with everybody else? I'm really confused. I'm gonna have to watch that back later and see what happened.
That was easy.
Yay, ice cream dream. That's a good thing to get very early. Okay. To work. Aww. I want to go to the hospital today. I want to see Aaron. I miss him. And this time I can pick the opposite actions because I don't have to impress Aaron or Eddy. This is going to end so badly and I'm going to feel like a... Whoops. I'm going to feel like a terrible, horrible person. I went to the hospital to go visit Aaron, but as soon as I entered his room, I had the feeling the visit wasn't going to go very well. Excuse me. Good morning, Aaron. Hi. How are you feeling today? A little better, thanks. He smiled at me politely, but without any of the tenderness I was used to seeing. An awkward silence settled in as I sat down at the chair beside his bed. Lacking any other ideas to really get the conversation going, I decided to start with something simple. I didn't want to pressure him with anything that the medics wouldn't approve of me discussing with them. How's the hospital food around here? Is it okay? It's pretty good. Definitely better than I can cook. I'm glad you like it, but I'm sure you're not that bad of a cook. You've never had my cooking, then? I went to say that I had, but quickly restrained. He wasn't a very good cook, but it made it more fun when he came to the ice cream parlor, or when I cooked for him. By the way, I was wondering. Yes? Who are you? The question was so simple, so polite, so impersonal, but it still broke my heart. Now, I am going to be ticked if he gets, like, a massive headache and is rolling around on the floor from pain when I tell him this. When Abigail can say, I'm your girlfriend, he's like, oh, okay, cool. So, I'm interested to see what happens. His words hurt, and they cut too deeply for my facade to remain in place. Aaron, don't you recognize me at all? No. Sorry, I don't. My name is Amy. Does that ring any bells? No. Unable to hold the words back, I simply had to tell him the truth. Aaron, I'm your girlfriend. A look of shock came over his face when I revealed the truth to him. That's impossible. I don't remember that at all. The bluntness of his response hurt, but not as much as the initial question. He looked clearly upset by my words, and the monitor beside his bed revealed that his pulse started to increase rapidly. Oh, I'm so ticked off. Aaron! But it's true. No, it's not. I already have. Before he could finish, 2 medics hurried into the room, one carrying a readied needle. Oh no! What? Oh dear. So that's why, because in his head, he's gone back to... So he's forgotten that he's broken up with Abigail. So when he sees her, maybe she didn't try to pass off that she was his girlfriend. He just automatically said, you know, I'm happy to see you, Abigail. Since you're my girlfriend and all that, right? I couldn't get a word in edgewise since things moved too quickly. One of the medics pulled me out of the room while the other told him to calm down and injected him with the needle. A relaxed expression came over his face almost immediately, and I realized they were sedating him. Once we were out in the hallway, a nurse cast me a stern look. Don't give me that look, Missy. Miss, you can't tell him things like that. Didn't you see how much it upset him? I'm sorry. Even after I left the hospital, something still haunted my mind. What was he about to say? I already have? I honestly didn't want to think about what that could have meant. You're on your own now. Thank you, nurse. Will you fall in love with someone else? That might be a good idea. Okay, Lawrence. I don't think he works anymore. Yeah, he goes home at sunset. So, how about we work on our culture? The library is my favorite place to be. Okay, new books. Da 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 da. Okay, so why don't we practice our writing? Because I need to get my creativity up as well.
Who's awesome? I'm awesome.
I got some culture. Okay, we're off to a good start. Go to work tomorrow. Maybe Lawrence will be there and make me feel better. Lawrence understands. Uh-oh. I was getting ready to leave for the ice cream shop when the phone rang. Hello? Miss Fitch? Oh, yes. I'm Amarantha. You are Eddy? Yes, I need to talk with you about Aaron. Is everything all right? Yes, don't worry. Everything is okay. I heard you paid him a visit yesterday, and I'd like to talk to you about some things. We agreed to meet in his office in the afternoon, after my shift at the ice cream shop ended. Oh dear. Even though I'm not doing Eddy's route, I he's not going to tell me off. Oh. I quickly change clothes and I get ready to go to the hospital to talk with Eddy. I wonder what he wants to talk about. You know, because nothing out of the ordinary happened. As soon as I entered the hospital, I met with Eddy. He nodded at me and made a gesture to follow him into his office. I took a deep breath, vaguely registering the sound of our footsteps tapping their way through the corridor. Eddy led me to his office, and I distantly noticed his occasional glances, but was too absorbed in my own frantic thoughts to care. We stepped through the door, and he quietly closed it behind me. Please, have a seat. I sunk into a cushioned chair in front of the desk and watched him hopefully. Tell me how he can get better. Well, you have to understand that this condition is somewhat difficult to treat. We'll of course be encouraging his memory to return by talking to his family and friends, putting him in situations of previous memories, things like that. The therapist can tell you more about exactly what they'll be doing. There's also the possibility of prescribing him certain medicines, but we only keep that option open for extreme cases. I nodded, hanging on to his every word. The key is that he regains his memory slowly and carefully. This sort of psychology is not my specialty, but we have to be careful of any psychological stress. Amnesia is tricky to begin with. We can't risk any more complications by trying to force him to remember. My heart sank. So what you're saying is, he won't be remembering me anytime soon. He looked at me kindly. Probably not, but there is a way you can help. How? Tell me, I'll do anything. Well, you know him very well. It would be a great help if you could think of situations that might help him regain some memories, situations from his past. Places he's been, activities he likes, things like that. I nodded my head slowly, trying to reconcile myself to all the unbelievable things that had happened recently. Okay, Amy be strong this time. For a few moments I sat still. Then, as silence rang and Eddy began to look uncomfortable, I stood up mechanically, having heard all that I needed to know. Miss Amarantha. Call me Amy, and thank you for your help, Eddy. All right. Any time, Amy. He'll be fine, don't worry. I nodded. Are you okay? I shrugged, turning to leave. Thank you, Eddy. I'll come by later to check on him. Well, I didn't lose any points with Eddy. I was just like, gotta go. This is cutting into my spending time with Lawrence, by the way. I would just like to say, ooh, culture and creativity. Good stuff. I'm glad Eddy didn't yell at me for telling Aaron that I was his girlfriend. That makes me feel a little bit better. Ice cream dream. The next morning, I decided to follow Eddy's suggestions. I grabbed a book from my library, the first book of the Pendragon series by D.J. MacHale. Aaron loved it. I'm going to bring this with me at the hospital next time. Oh dear. Do we have to go to the hospital? Oh, I had just started my shift when I heard a familiar voice. Amy? I looked up from the change in the cash register that I was counting to meet his gaze. Yes? I wanted to talk to you about what happened. Yes? Lawrence looked away, unable to continue looking me in the eye. He was always rather shy, and he often resorted to text messages since he was more comfortable with it. You know, I'll always be here. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'd be glad to listen. After all, we're friends, right? Right. Thank you, Lawrence. I appreciate that. And then I failed, because I wasn't in the right mood after Lawrence brought that up. Darn it, Lawrence! I quickly changed clothes, eager to give the book to Aaron to see if he remembers it. Here we go, again. When I arrived at the hospital, I was surprised when the receptionist said there was already someone visiting Aaron. At first, I was glad to hear that, since it probably meant one of his friends had come to drop in for a visit. Even if it was just one of his friends from school, talking to people he used to know would probably help him with his memory. However, when I entered the room, what I found was anything but pleasant. I stopped in the doorway and stared for a moment, my eyes widening as my heart went cold. No clear thoughts passed through my mind, and I couldn't seem to bring myself to take even one step closer. It was a wild Abigail in her natural habitat. Aaron's ex-girlfriend, who was seated beside him. She wore a smile that was so obviously fake it almost made me sick to see it. I knew all too well why they broke up quite a while before we got together. She was a manipulative girl who never really loved him. The idea that the lapse in his memory would make him think that she was his real girlfriend... Oh, Amy, good morning. Who are you? I didn't reply, simply staring as the reality of the situation sank in. Abigail knew perfectly well who I was. She was just acting. She's a friend of mine. She came here to visit me yesterday. Nearly gave me a heart attack, and then the medics came in and injected me with some sort of needle, and then I felt great. Oh, I see. Don't you know who I am, Abigail? Well, I don't think I remember someone as ordinary looking as you. Confess to me. Excuse me? You heard me. Why? Have we met before? You shouldn't even be here. Don't pretend you don't know who I am. Aaron glanced between us, looking somewhat bewildered. Sorry, Aaron. I'm Aaron's girlfriend. Why wouldn't I be here? After what happened, he needs all the tender love and care he can get. Abigail smiled as she placed her hands around his, though her eyes remained unchanging. You don't belong here. You dumped Aaron for some other guy with more money. What? Abigail glared at me and shook her head disapprovingly. Aaron, don't pay any attention to her. She's confusing me with someone else. I don't know what she's talking about. She's lying to you. She isn't really here to take care of you. I don't understand. There's nothing to understand, honey. Like I said, don't pay any attention to her. Abigail leaned forward and gently kissed Aaron's cheek. Looking reassured, Aaron shook his head slightly. What? That sounded like I got points. I'm confused. Amy, it's nice that you're concerned, but my father sent Abigail here. She's been very helpful and kind to me. Oh my goodness! Osher sent Abigail to get them back together? Holy cow, he really hates Amy and for some reason really approved of Abigail. What the heck? I wonder what the story is behind all that. Seriously? You really mean that? I wasn't entirely surprised that Osher was the one behind her reappearance. I'm surprised. I see. Well, sorry I bothered you two. Without another word, I left the room with tears starting to form in my eyes. I'm afraid they're already running down, Amy. I don't know what her intentions are, but Abigail doesn't get up early in the morning, so I would only find her in the hospital visiting Erin in the afternoon or evening. But I work, and I'm not going to spend time with Erin anyway. Oh, well, that was a revelation. Interesting. Well, time to go home. Well, that was very interesting. I will have to process this information.